So glad you're with us on the Clark Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to keep more of what you make. Our web address, clark.com. When you have a question for me, go to clark.com/ask. Coming up in just 20 minutes in today's Clark-rageous moment, yet another study showing how much time we waste sitting in traffic. Is it better for your wallet to live closer in and spend more on housing, or is it better for your wallet to put up with that traffic? We're going to talk about it in today's Clark Rage. And coming up a half hour from now, you go to your bank's app on your phone, and a pleasant computer starts communicating with you. What's that about? It's kind of creepy, isn't it? But it could be good for you. I'll tell you what's going on with artificial intelligence and your bank. Wow, artificial intelligence and banks. That's quite a phrase. Anyway, I want to talk about the U.S. economy. In this presidential election year, there's a lot of noise about how to fix what ails the U.S. economy. The reality is, do you know what makes people and a society wealthier over time? Not all the applause lines you hear from the political candidates. There's one thing and one thing only that makes people wealthier, have better lives, makes a society wealthier over time. And that is when a society becomes more productive. When for every hour somebody works, we're able to produce more goods or services from that hour worked. Any move like raising the minimum wage or anything like that seems to give a booster shot, but all it is rearranging the dollars that flow in an economy. What we need to be about as a nation is increasing the nation's wealth, not rearranging those dollars. And we do that by working smarter. You know, when somebody comes up with a way to make something better, cheaper, faster, that's what makes society stronger and wealthier. And in the United States, we've had a real problem for a while with us not working better, faster, cheaper. And I'm not talking about squeezing you, paying you less, making you work more. That's not increasing productivity. Productivity is all about working smarter, more efficiently. There's been a lot of talk on the campaign trail about bringing back manufacturing jobs. And I'm going to tell you the straight out truth. We are not going to be able to increase manufacturing jobs in the United States by any significant amount, because manufacturing is one of the sectors where new, better ways of making goods have taken hold. And, you know, the United States is producing more goods than it ever has, but with a tiny fraction of the number of workers that we used to use for manufacturing. And this is why economics is such a nasty business, because you're never going to say that on the campaign trail, because you're not saying, hey, you know, that job's gone and it ultimately makes society wealthier, because who's ever going to like that? The reality is, in order for us as a society to create a better life for our people in the United States, we have to be more flexible in the training available to you and me and the opportunities available to you and me as a result of the training that we get throughout a working lifetime. Everything else is just noise. Everything else is just talk. If we want to improve people's lives in America, we have to improve opportunity for people. And we do that through a lifelong pursuit of new skills and training. Jonathan's with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hello, Jonathan. How are you?
Hello, Clark. I'm doing well. How are you?
Great, thank you. You have a story to share with me about a apparently stolen iPhone?
I do.
What happened?
Well, this past week, my son was at an amusement park, and he either misplaced or it was taken from him, his iPhone. He made a call to the phone. The person apparently answered the phone and just hung up. So he called me immediately, and I put the phone into lost mode. And I put a message on there saying that, well, first of all, the person turned it off immediately, so I wasn't able to track it until he got home, and he turned it on quickly, and it located the phone, and I was sent an email saying that the phone had been located, and it sent us approximately where it was. So I sent a message. Well, I put the message on there saying that I knew where the person lived. I put the street address on there and the city that they lived in. And I said to the person that if they call me and return the phone, I will, no questions asked, I'll come pick it up. And, no further action will be taken. So that was Friday. The person obviously turned it off and left it all day Saturday. Saturday night, he turned it on again, so I was getting messages that the person was, turning it on and the phone was being located. Actually, Friday night, when we found out where it was, we Google Earthed it, and we saw exactly the house that it was in. It was an apartment building, so we couldn't really go to the house. Anyways, Saturday night around 11:30.
You're a good detective here. This is great.
Well, my wife and I can't take all the credit. My wife and I were working on this together, so she's kind of the brains behind the operation.
Isn't that always the case?
That is, Clark, that is.
Yeah.
So anyways, 11:30 Saturday night, we got a call saying that the person's little brother had found the phone and that his father had just found out about it and blah, blah, blah. You can come pick it up. So my wife and I drove out about an hour away and picked up the phone. We were a little apprehensive and nervous about it, so we, checked out the area and made sure we were okay. We let people know where we were going, and we didn't know what we were getting into, but walked up, took the phone, and drove away, and that was the end of the story.
And if the phone was just something they took as a crime of opportunity, that's never going to happen again in that household, is it?
Well, I'm not sure if like my son wasn't sure if, it was taken out of his pocket or if they just, found it and, didn't know what to do with it, or either way, it wasn't turned in. Yeah. And the person could have very easily, there's a reason they turned the phone off and there's a reason that they didn't,
sure,
simply call or let us know that they had the phone.
Well, one of the interesting side points to this is that Apple, to its credit, has done the best job of any cell phone manufacturer of shutting down the incentive to steal phones. In the newest iPhone operating system, it has become so easy for you to do what you did.
Right.
And people aren't stealing iPhones at all like they used to.
Sure. If I could just provide a couple tips for people.
Sure, please.
Make sure you have a passcode on, because if we wouldn't have had a passcode on, the person could have just opened the phone up, turned off the Wi-Fi, and probably just, I'm thinking, done more damage, because we wouldn't have been able to track it that way. They would have just turned the Wi-Fi off and then maybe plugged it into a computer and wiped it. We didn't wipe the phone right away because we weren't worried about what my son had on there. If it was my phone, with banking information, I probably would have wiped it right away. But if you wipe the phone, you are no longer able to track it. So you need to have a passcode on there so that the person can't get into your phone initially and do damage that way. What was the other thing?
I think you've done a great thing already, just sharing your story. And I want to tell you, Jonathan, how much I appreciate it. It's an interesting choice you made. You said, hey, we're going to let bygones be bygones. We just want the phone back. And you got a get out of jail free card here. And that was probably a smart choice, because the police are fatigued with all the calls they get about the stolen phones. And now, especially with the iPhones tracking the criminal, the police are, in a lot of jurisdictions, are reluctant now to go after the criminals, even though they know where they are because of the tracking technology. Go ahead and download Lookout if you have an Android, which allows you similar capabilities, in some senses better and some worse than what's available tracking an iPhone. If somebody steals your device, you may need to wipe it clean. Lookout provides that capability. Apple certainly provides that capability. You need to protect your information and maybe be able to catch the bad guy. Reed is with us. Hello, Reed. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great, thank you. You're a business owner.
Yes, I'm a third-generation business owner, and I'm kind of trapped in the old-school ways of doing things, and I'm trying to bring us into the new, I guess.
Well, let's see if I can be of any service. What are you trying to modernize?
Just all the money that we pay out to vendors and then our overhead, and we pay it all with checks. And I wanted to know if I did it with a credit card, could I be getting a lot of rewards or be getting a lot, something that to make it more advantageous to me to do that than just writing a check?
Well, yes, and businesses overwhelmingly will use cards that specifically will give you either cash management or rewards. American Express has one called the Plum Card. Have you heard of that?
Yes, sir. I've just kind of shied away from the Amex because a lot of our customers don't seem to accept. A lot of our vendors don't seem to accept American Express
because the fees are so high.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if, as a merchant, I take the American Express card, I'm paying often double the merchant fees that I would be paying with another one. But there are many Visas and MasterCards that you can get that will give you, and what's neat is you apply for one as an individual, but use it for business expenses and pay it through your business. It gives you the consumer protections that come with a consumer credit card that don't come with a business card. And at the same time, you're earning whatever kind of rewards you want. It can be cash back. It can be free gasoline. It can be any of a number of benefits that are available. Free travel. You name, let your imagination run wild. There's a card that does just about everything. There are cards, if you have kids or grandkids that might want to go to college, you can get a reward card that will help fund their college.
Oh, wow.
So it really is a matter of you picking and choosing what will earn you the most reward based on how many dollars you think you're likely to charge per month. And I've got 2 websites I'd like you to look at to pick what might be the best card, or dare I say 2 cards in combination that would get you the most rewards charging things for your business. Ready?
Yes, sir.
One of them is NerdWallet, NERDWallet.com.
Okay.
And the other is CreditCardTuneUp.com.
Credit Card Tune-Up. One that I actually did go on NerdWallet at one point, and they were saying that they said that I think it was Chase offered a really good one. Do you know anything about that one?
Well, Chase offers probably more than 100 different cards, so it would just be a matter of which one. And what Credit Card Tune-Up will do is you can guesstimate how much charge volume you'll have per month, and it will rank for you in order what reward card will get you the most rewards.
Wow, okay. CreditCardTuneUp.com.
Yeah. So not only is it modern, it'll also get you a little bit of float.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because I have net 30 terms with all of my vendors, and then if you pay on the 30th day, you're really making your terms net 60.
That is exactly right. Although they may not like you as much because now they're paying merchant discount, but they're used to that because so many businesses now pay their bills with credit cards all across the system. It's time for you to be Clark Rage. Do you know what about something that infuriates me? Sitting in traffic. I hate it.
Scams, ripoffs, outrages. It's a Clark Rageous moment.
A new report from an insurance industry group finds that we, the American people, spend more than what a work week would be on average sitting in traffic. But, that's just an average, because in metro areas where the communities sprawl, people spend the equivalent of weeks of work over the course of a year sitting in traffic just commuting. And something that's not talked about enough is not those lost hours, but the waste of money. Because do you know that even though housing is the most obvious expense that we have in our lives, the cost of transportation is right behind it? And the cost of putting a vehicle on the road per mile, according to AAA, is roughly 60 cents a mile. If you keep driving to a freeway exit far enough out that housing seems affordable, and you're commuting from there thinking you're saving money, that's Clark-rageous. Because once you calculate in the cost of that commute, you could likely live closer to work, lower your transportation costs so much that you could afford a more expensive housing cost. All those hours wasted in traffic, absolutely Clark-rageous. And by the way, not good for your health either, because those hours lost are hours that you're sedentary, that you can't be active, and you can't be with your family and friends.
Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans proudly supports this podcast. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage approval process into the 21st century. It's fast, powerful, and completely online. You see, Rocket Mortgage has taken all the complicated, time-consuming parts of applying for a mortgage out of the equation. Hate searching through stacks of old files and paperwork? Well, with Rocket Mortgage, you can easily share your bank statements and pay stubs at the touch of a button. It helps you get approved in minutes for a custom mortgage solution that's been tailored to your unique financial situation. Even better, with Rocket Mortgage, you can do all of this on your phone or tablet. It's a quick online process that you can manage from the convenience of your couch. So if you're looking to refinance your mortgage or buy a home, check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/save. That's quickenloans.com/SAVE. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Welcome to the Clark Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to save more and spend less. And don't let anyone ever rip you off. Our web address, clark.com. When you have a question for me, clark.com/ask. More and more, when you ask questions or you call in somewhere, the automated attendants you deal with are going from being the biggest nuisance ever to actually being helpful. Artificial intelligence is sometimes going to create conversations that are so human-like that you may temporarily forget that you're talking to a computer instead of talking to an actual human being. USAA, the big military insurer and bank, has its own artificial intelligence bot that when USAA members sign into the app and you're looking for something, you have a question, whatever, you just click on the bot and you start asking the bot questions, and it starts giving you back advice both in the spoken word and in writing. A lot of times you call somewhere and you start screaming at the phone as you get hit with one of those menu trees that can drive any of us crazy, where they're just not sophisticated enough, and all you're trying to do is solve a problem, because you didn't call a company because you just wanted to chat. You called a company because you have a problem you need to solve. So we're in a messy transition with some people already getting there, where you're going to have the ability to actually be served by the computer. And so instead of the computer being the blocker, being your enemy, it will help you get things done. As to talking to a machine instead of a human, all right, let's think about that. Would you rather only be able to get money from a bank or credit union during their extremely limited banking hours where you have to park and go inside and wait in a teller line and present ID and get money? Or would you rather be able to go to the ATM, pop in your card, and seconds later walk away with the cash you wanted? Well, I want you to think back in time. There was once a time, you may not be old enough for this time, where financial institutions could not get their customers to use ATMs and would pay you to use the ATM. So we're in that same phase now where the machine learning is getting so much better that you're going to reach a point where you'd rather deal with a human. I had a situation recently with a flight cancellation, and I called in to the airline reservation center, and they told me it would be over an hour. I forget the exact minutes the system guessed till I could talk to somebody. So instead, I hung up. I went to the airline app. It knew there was a problem with the flight, and then it gave me a list of alternate flights. I selected one, picked my seat, and I was done. Artificial intelligence done right will actually make your life easier. Nan is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hello, Nan.
Hi, Clark.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks. My son was recently drafted to play baseball, and I want to know how to transition him from our money and credit cards to his own. We would like for him to be able to charge all of his expenses so he can get rewards and cash back and travel and stuff, but we're not sure that with his small monthly income he'll be able to qualify for a large enough credit line to do that.
How old is your son?
21.
Okay, so normally a 21-year-old has a very hard time getting credit. Mm-hmm. He has a leg up because of the fact that he is in a major league system with one of the teams in their farm system. Is that where
Correct.
He is?
Mm-hmm.
So does the team offer any option for him to establish credit? Do they have many times they'll have a relationship with an official bank of a team.
Okay.
And they will have special programs offered to players.
Okay, don't know about that yet, but we can ask about that.
And I would have him, is he assigned to a squad yet?
Yes.
I would suggest he ask the manager, an assistant manager, if there's some kind of arrangement they're aware of, because fellow players may be clueless about this. Mm-hmm. But ask does he have a good relationship with his manager yet?
Well, he's only been there a week.
Oh, so he's already been yelled at a number of times. So he's broken the ice to ask the manager that question.
Okay, that's a good place to start.
And is there a traveling secretary for the team? A lot of baseball teams will have someone they call the traveling secretary who makes all the travel arrangements and all that kind of thing.
Right.
So he can ask that individual also.
Okay. Yeah, mostly I'm thinking, he has a debit card now, but we know... Debit card doesn't help.
He may not have any credit history at all right now.
Right. He has been on one of our cards.
Oh.
So for a number of years since he was 16.
Right.
So he may have
a credit identity.
Right.
So if he were at 21, he can do this. He can go to annualcreditreport.com and pull his credit file. But the other thing, I'd like him to go to Credit Karma, KARMA.com, and go ahead and register with them, and he'll see if he does have an established credit score right now.
Okay.
If he does have an established credit score and it's decent, he won't need the help of the team to establish credit. He'll be able to apply for credit on his own.
Okay.
And then a reward card would be, how much do you think he'll have in traveling expenses each month?
Well, they pretty much pay for everything as hotel and 2 meals a day. So it's really sort of just going to be extra meals and personal
So only a few $100s a month, not thousands.
Yeah, I'm thinking $500 to $700 maybe.
Okay, so then just a run-of-the-mill reward card would be good. There's a website I like to pick one called Credit Card Tune-Up.
Okay.
Override the amount they put in as a typical monthly charge volume and put in, let's say, $600 a month and put most of it in meals.
Right.
And then it'll generate what is the best reward card for him to get with that volume.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, because we thought about might go into a secured card where we just put in like $1,000 a month there, but he wouldn't be getting any.
Yeah, that's not going to help him establish credit.
It won't help. It won't help him.
No.
Okay.
A secured card is a pretty lengthy path to try to secure credit.
Okay.
Or get traditional credit.
Takes a while.
Yeah, so that's why the help of the team. Is really key. But again, if you having put him on 5 years ago as an authorized user on one of your accounts, that may have gotten him to where he needs, and now he's got income.
Okay.
So what position does your son play?
Well, in college he played third base and shortstop, but he's been transitioned to second base.
Oh, and do you know what skilled position I can play on a baseball field?
Catcher.
Sit in the stands and watch. I have no athletic ability at all. That's all I can do is go watch. So good luck to him. Gail is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hello, Gail.
Hi, Clark. How are you?
Great. Thank you, Gail. You have a question that people never ask me. They always ask from the other side about this organization, being an investor. What's your question about Lending Club?
My question is, I've gotten myself, in a lot of credit card debt in order to survive the last couple of years. And I'm making a dent, but it isn't, it's like treading water. So I wanted to find out if it would be a good idea to use one of those companies to consolidate it, and that way I just have one payment instead of trying to juggle for many.
Well, with Lending Club and with Prosper, whether they're going to be good alternatives for you depends on a couple of questions I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
First, do you have any sense what your credit score is? We were just talking about credit scores with the baseball player's mom, but do you know what your score is?
702.
Okay. So that's important because your score, the higher your score is, the more potential you have to be able to borrow money on Lending Club or Prosper. So second question, what is the interest rate kind of across the waterfront with the various cards you have?
Oh, I have some that are up at 25. The average seems to be, I think, about 18.
Okay. And with Lending Club or Prosper, have you looked to see what the prevailing interest rates are with your credit score?
I got it in the mail, a letter, and it said 6.95.
You mean 7%?
7%, yeah.
That's not going to happen likely if you have a high level of credit card debt. If you go to lendingclub.com, they'll give you a sense of what interest rates they charge based on where your score is and how much debt you have. So I don't think there's any problem with you posting your situation on Lending Club. So they show different loan grades based on your how much debt you have and what your credit score is and all that. And it looks like you'd be looking at somewhere around 10%, but still substantially lower than what you're paying now if people would be willing to do what's called fund your loan.
Correct. I pay every month. I'm not late, and I try to do more than the minimum as much as I can. It's just, trying to, it's just like digging my way out of a hole that I can't get out of right now.
Well, see, that's what I love about Lending Club and Prosper is they cut the banks out of it, and an investor gets the profit that would have gone to a bank, you get a lower rate typically than you would have otherwise. And if somebody does choose to be part of lending you money, they take just a tiny sliver of it, and it's a whole bunch of different people all put in money to lend to you, so that if you did default on your loan, no one person is on the hook for all that money that you borrowed. It's a shared risk of a lot of different people.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't default.
No, I'm just saying that's the motivation for people to get involved is if I were to put money in as an investor, my money might go to 100 different loans.
Okay.
Or more. So,
well, I got myself into this mess. I need to get myself out.
Well, I appreciate that, and go give it a try on both Lending Club and Prosper. Look at both of them, see which one looks like it would be more favorable for you, and hopefully, knock on wood, people will be happy to take on the risk of your loans and take you from a blended of over 20% down to somewhere near 10%.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
Good luck. And Gail, if you don't mind, if you will follow up and call back and fill us in on whether or not this did work for you as a way to reduce your interest cost carry, or if it turned out to be a dead end, because other people could benefit from your knowledge and experience.
Absolutely. I would be happy to do that.
Thank you so much. Carolyn's with us on the Clark Howard Show. Carolyn?
Hi. I had lunch with my sister last week, my daughter and I, and as we were finishing eating, she sat there and looked at us. She said, I've got to tell you something. And I said, what? And she said, I've been scammed. And I looked at her, I said, no, you didn't. I said, did you get one of those calls about a grandchild? She said, yeah. And they told her that her grandson, she said they even called him by his name, that lives in Florida, that he had been arrested, he had been at a wedding, and they needed $1,400.
Oh.
And of all people, Clark, she is very savvy. She's 83, but she's very savvy with her money. And I just sat there and I just said, I can't believe. She says, I said, why didn't you call your son? Why didn't you call your grandson's mother that lives in Florida and ask him? She says, I had to do that for him. I didn't. And she just got tears in her eyes, and she says, I didn't know what to do. And I just wanted you to let the people out there know that they're back or they're still there. And
well, they're getting smarter, too, because you pointed out something significant. They knew the grandson's name.
Yes.
They knew where he lived. And a lot of that is because of social media.
Yeah, and they even knew her address, which is scary.
Yeah, well, let's say the grandson had wished happy birthday wishes to his grandmom at some point, and they're tracking him on social media. They then have all the elements they need, knowing his backstory from social media and all the rest, to take advantage.
Yes, and she said she called the police, and she said, they told her, well, ma'am, it's happening. I don't know what to tell you. There's nothing we can do.
No, Carolyn, you did everything possible just now. You've given people a heads up about the Grandkids Scam, where somebody calls under false pretenses, either pretending to be the grandkid or calling supposedly to help the grandkid, con you out of money, and you gave the best advice. I don't even need to add to it. You gave the right advice. There's plenty of time to verify with other family members.
Exactly.
And so if you do that work, you do the homework before you'd ever consider sending money, you'll know.
I know. She went straight to the bank. And I said, oh, my gosh, I can't believe that you didn't. She says, I don't know. She said, I would never have done it. She said, I was just worried about him. It was in the moment.
Well, I am so glad you shared the story. I'm sorry about the lost $1,400, but who knows how many other people you're going to keep from being ripped off just by sharing the story today.
You know, when you're going to buy a car, pricing information is great and necessary, but there's more to doing it than just the price. There's the actual buying experience. If you want to enjoy a better one, you should go to a True Car certified dealer. They're there to help you find the car that you want, and they're also what make True Car unique. With True Car, you can connect with a local certified dealer that you choose, so you can lock in a guaranteed savings off the MSRP and enjoy a totally better buying experience. And by better, they also mean faster. Over 2 million cars have already been sold to True Car users who have visited their True Car certified dealer. And there are over 11,000 True Car certified dealers nationwide, so it's probably pretty easy to find one near you. And check this, for a new car, average True Car users save $3,279 off MSRP. All right, so you're probably wondering, how do I do this? It's easy. Just go to TrueCar.com or, right there on your phone, download the True Car app. You can find the car you want, see the True Car pricing curve, which shows you what other people in your area paid for the same car, and that way you can know you're getting a good price and feel confident. Then you'll get a guaranteed savings certificate from the True Car certified dealer. Go to the dealer, and your guaranteed savings off MSRP will be honored, and you enjoy a quick, easy experience. How's that for car buying? So when you're ready to buy a new car, or even a used one, visit TrueCar.com or download the True Car app and enjoy the better car buying experience. Some features are not available in all states.
I'm so glad you're with us on the Clark Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to save more and spend less. And don't let anybody ever rip you off. We're going to talk about a terrible ripoff. What a waste of your money. We're going to talk about in just a second. Our web address, clark.com. When you have a question for me, clark.com/ask. Coming up in a half hour, we're going to talk about ways that you can make sure you never have a DUI or DWI. It's coming your way in just 30. And the answer is not just don't drink, although that does work. There's something you should never do. I'm in the checkout line buying a kayak on clearance for $99. With a straight face, the cashier asks me if I want to buy an extended warranty on it for $49. I was like, oh, no, thank you. And this thing with the extended warranties is getting so ridiculous. You may remember I told you about buying a pair of tennis shoes for my son, and the cashier was trying to get us to pay $5 extra on a $15 pair of tennis shoes to buy an extended warranty on them. Well, you know, kids' feet change so fast that the kid's going to outgrow a shoe before we'd ever have a problem. But a warranty on a shoe? Come on. And so there are the traditional categories that they're pushed so heavily. Nothing more than electronics. And I love the lingo that the salespeople are taught in the instructional videos. I don't know if you know this, but the companies that work with the retailers to sell them the extended warranties, and then the retailers mark up and whatever, they do these videos, and the salespeople have to sit down and watch these videos, and that's why you'll hear the same language over and over again. One of my favorite phrases that's like in every instructional video about selling an extended warranty on a flat screen TV is, don't you want to protect your investment? Okay, so a TV is not an investment. A stock, a bond, a mutual fund, your 401k, that's an investment. A TV is for fun. So you don't buy one on that. The furniture extended warranties. Are you kidding me? You go to an a furniture store, and they're pushing warranties on the cushions or the furniture or the fabric or whatever. And isn't it cute when they say, oh, well, this sofa for $99, we can provide you fabric protectant. You know what that is? That's like 20 cents of Scotch Guard stuff out of a spray can. And they charge you $100 for it. Do not waste your money. The car warranties are in a big gray zone. If you buy a car and you fit the profile of somebody who you wouldn't be in a position to afford when a car's out of warranty to replace the engine or transmission. And remember, engine and transmission drivetrain warranties typically are longer than on the rest of the car. But let's just say you could not afford that repair. The math on the extended warranty on the car, no better than on the waste of money on the electronics or appliances or anything like that. Math is no better. But if you need that car to get to work and that car is sitting in a shop that you can't afford to repair and then you lose your job, that would make a potential case for you having an extended warranty, but only from the manufacturer itself, not the dealer, not some third party, from the manufacturer. You might buy a manufacturer's warranty from your dealer, but you only want the manufacturer branded warranty. The third party ones, the problems with those are unbelievable. But the best thing of all to do with your life is things are going to break. Although those flat screen TVs, people buy warranties so heavily, the break rate on them is almost nothing. Things are going to break. Instead of putting money on that extended warranty, have money in savings so that anything that breaks or needs repairing, you have the money for it. Mike is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Hi, Clark.
Mike, you own your own business.
Yep.
How many years have you been an entrepreneur?
Coming up on 23.
No way.
Yeah, it's...
So you're kind of like me. You like having your own operation, being responsible for your own success or lack of.
Yeah, and it's nice when your boss is a jerk. You can tell him off.
That's funny. How can I be of service to you?
Well, we've been in a simple IRA through a company since 1998. And just some of the things I've seen online recently make me wonder if they're a good place to have my employees' money.
So first, let me explain to your fellow listener, a simple IRA means that you are a very generous boss, because even though you're with a smaller business, you want your employees to have a retirement plan. And one thing I should say, there's nothing simple about a simple in spite of the name. They're very complicated. The paperwork can be mind-numbing. And if you opened one in the 90s, the only people who did simple IRAs were ultra-high-cost commission-based companies. And you're likely paying expenses on your account and your employees on their accounts that are more than 2%, potentially even more than 3% all in on administrative and management expenses each year on the money you have in the plan. Today, you can do a simple with any of the low-cost companies, and your expenses for the SEP can drop to be about 1/30th of what you're probably paying now.
Wow.
Yeah, the whole picture has changed. So you could go to someone like Charles Schwab or Vanguard or T. Rowe Price and open simples with them and do that initial round of ridiculous paperwork, and then that be where your money goes forward, is in an ultra-low-cost simple instead of what you have now.
Yeah, I had a feeling that it was something like that.
And I would make a suggestion. I know as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, you are busy and time is very precious for you. But you are the number one beneficiary of that plan you set up that benefits you and your fellow employees, your employees. I would love for you to take the time to talk to and sit down with retirement specialists at least two would be plenty of the low-cost providers, and have them lay out for you what doing a simple with them would be like. And there may be other options for a small business retirement plan that would be superior to what you're doing now. Because today, you could potentially do an ultra-low-cost, full-blown 401k.
Really? Because 401k was crazy back then.
Yeah, 401k back then, if you could get it approved, you might have had $100,000 in setup fees. Today, you may be looking at hundreds of dollars for setup fees. So it's a completely different environment now.
And I did want to thank you, too, because for years it was just me and my business partner and one employee on the plan. And then I sat them down at a meeting and played a segment where you told someone they were crazy not to at least get the match, and now everybody's on it.
Love it. So you are being generous to your employees, and you're excited about it.
Well, there's more to life than money.
And that's why you'll have more money.
Hope so.
Because your priorities are right.
Thank you, Clark.
Well, best to you, and good luck with that shopping. And one thing I know is always uncomfortable, Mike, is telling whoever has been your relationship person for the last 16 years that you're going to not have them handle the money anymore, but it'll mean a lot more money for you and your employees. And speaking now with, I'm sorry, I don't actually see your name.
Okay, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. You like to commute a long way. Tell me how far your commute is.
Well, my commute is 100 miles to work and then 100 miles home from work at the end of the day.
No, it's not.
It is.
How many days a week do you drive 200 miles?
5 days a week.
No way.
Yeah. Luckily, it's an easy drive.
Wow.
It's just one straight shot on the interstate. So,
and would you consider yourself still to be sane?
No, I don't actually. But
yeah, I would be mentally off my rocker if I was driving that much.
Yeah, a lot of audiobooks and things like that.
How can I be of help with that ultra long commute?
Well, I took this job about 2 years ago, and at the time I had a leased vehicle, and I knew pretty quickly that I couldn't stay in a lease with the mileage. So I broke my lease early. I bought a smaller car. It's a diesel, and it gets excellent fuel mileage. And now being 2 years into my employment here, things are comfortable. Looks like I'm going to be staying for a while. However, the car is a little small and it's a little uncomfortable to drive. So really, I'm wondering, because I'm putting about a little over 50,000 miles a year on my car, am I stuck with it? Should I keep it until it falls apart?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because you bought this one new or used?
Yes, new.
If you bought it new and you're putting that kind of mileage on it, your depreciation's kind of like falling off a mountain. Forget a cliff.
Right.
And so get a comfortable seat put in it. Do something to make it more enjoyable in that vehicle. Right. And if money really matters, you got to keep running up the odometer on that one.
Okay.
I know that's not what you want me to say. But,
right. Well,
but you really need to keep that thing rolling, because otherwise it's just way too expensive. Jim joins us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Clark. Hey, we have what appears to be a hugely complex situation. My wife and I are a couple in our mid-60s, and we got married last March.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. My wife and I want to know, where the heck do we start to get her last name changed? We have so much that we're looking at, Social Security, passports, global entries, credit cards, bank accounts?
So I'm going to give one answer that traditionalists don't like, but the most common answer when you have a marriage much later in life is that your bride does not change her last name for simplicity's sake, because so many documents, so many accounts, so many records are involved in changing the name. So, I mean, the easiest answer is she just keeps her last name. That may not be what you want as a couple, but that's by far the easiest.
We've kind of tossed that around, and maybe in the long run, that may be the best way to do it.
And, you know, what couples will do is if you live in an area that it is very traditional that a wife takes on a husband's last name, is that when you're out and about with people, that's how you introduce yourselves. But for anything that your wife does involving commerce, banking, travel, anything like that, that she uses her previous legal name.
Well, if we decide that that's not the way we want to go, if we do want to do it with all the legalities, where would you start?
Every organization has its own procedure for doing the paperwork. And if you go to theknot.com, KNOT.com,
okay,
it has a guide that takes you step by step what you do first, second, third, and their recommendation is you always start with Social Security and then work from changing the name with Social Security.
Got it.
But you should go look at the guide. Again, it's theknot, KNOT.com, and it'll walk you both through how she gets all that done. And again, congratulations to both of you. Joel, who do we have an Ask Clark from?
This one's from Joe, and he says, I've got a friend who's 21 years old. He's got a good, steady job, and he's had it for over a year now, but he's having trouble getting anyone to give him credit. Do you have any suggestions to help him get started?
It's really, really hard when you've had no credit at all to establish credit, and that leaves you prey to a lot of the rip-off artists with the really ugly, awful, what are known as secured credit cards. So what I have learned and what I now recommend is that have your friend look at joining a credit union. There may be one affiliated or associated with where your friend's working. But credit unions, not all by any stretch of the imagination, but it is common with credit unions that there is a program available to help build credit. Many times it will allow you to have a Visa or MasterCard that is not a secured card in the traditional sense. It reports to the credit bureau, but you also must have a savings account or a CD with the credit union so the credit union is not at risk. Usually the credit union hold on a certain amount of money in the savings account, or the CD will be released typically after 12 months. But the credit unions offer the best gateway in the country for someone to establish credit or to reestablish credit. But again, not all credit unions are created equal. You got to find one that's a good fit for you.
Stay tuned for 60 seconds of AP News headlines right after this podcast.
I'm glad you're with us on the Clark Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to keep more of what you make. I love the billboards all over the country that talk about something very, very smart, and that is about not drinking and driving, with any of a number of different pithy messages. And I'll tell you something I was completely wrong about. I thought that Uber and Lyft would lead to a significant reduction in the amount of people that are drinking and driving. And so far, there's no statistical evidence that Uber and Lyft have changed people's behavior in terms of getting behind the wheel when they're drunk. But listen to what they have developed at University of California, San Diego, UCSD, and is getting close to being commercially available, a very, very inexpensive device that was part of a National Institutes of Health contest with a $200,000 first prize, is coming up with a wearable that would provide two purposes. One, a bartender would know they couldn't serve you anymore because this wearable would show you were tanked. So you may still use the expression tanked. I guess not. That means you're drunk. And your wearable would the color would show that you were fully inebriated. How's that? In addition, where people say, oh, I'm fine, I can handle it, I can get out and drive, your arm would show you're not. What's so wonderful about this device from UCSD is that it's just clear as could be. They think it's going to cost $100, and it relies on your sweat. What's called insensible, which is sweat that you don't even realize is there, and is able to measure very accurately your blood alcohol content. The disposable thing that's part of the device costs like $1. So if you go out drinking a lot, to make sure you're safe, it'll cost you an extra $1 each time to make sure you were A-OK. The other thing that happened with this contest, according to the Wall Street Journal, is the wearables market makes it possible for your body to signal to your car to not allow you to drive, that your car will not start. The existing ignition interlock devices involve you blowing into a breathalyzer type attachment. And I know this is crazy, but people will blow into one for somebody so they can start the car, and then somebody's driving down the road. The beauty of the wearable is that with it having signature to your vehicle, it will not allow that car to start till you're sober again. And I think that's great stuff. Way too many people lose their lives because they get hit by a drunk driver. Way too many lives cut short. Way too many people injured, including passengers in the vehicle of the drunk driver. And the loss of life of the drunk driver. I know a lot of people who are bitter about it, who have been injured or had a loved one lose a life because of a drunk driver, have no sympathy at all for that drunk driver. But that individual as well, their loss of life is a shame as well. Karen is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Karen, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I want to thank you for taking my call.
It's my pleasure to have you here. And you have a question about renting a car, is that right?
Yes, indeed.
What's the story?
Well, we're going to our granddaughter's wedding in Iowa. We live in Colorado. And kind of like the airlines, should we be renting now early, or do we wait until right before? When are we going to get those best rates?
You're not going to believe this, and I'm not running for public office.
Okay.
The answer is you do both.
Oh.
This is how I always handle a rental car. In fact, I booked a rental car this morning for November.
Really?
And what I'll do is I will check that rate again just before I go, because with rental cars, what happens is the rate almost always goes down closer to when you're going to use that car. Where with airlines, the closer you get to departure, the rates tend to go higher when you get within 21 days. What the car rental companies do is they know that people tend to book a car rental at the same time they book a flight, and then they forget about it. So they quote higher prices further out and then typically lower prices close in. But the thing about renting a car is you can have your cake and eat it too. You book a car rental now for the wedding in Iowa, and then you know you have a price, you know what that price is going to be. and then a week out, put on your calendar to shop it again, and probably 95% of the time, the rate will be substantially lower a week out.
Okay.
But you got that 5% possibility that who knows what could be going on in Iowa. You said Iowa or Idaho?
Iowa.
Iowa, yeah, I got it right. So you got that 5% of the time that for whatever reason, car rental demand is really high for that week you're going. And there may be no cars available or cars only at a much higher price. Well, the beauty is you already have the bird in the hand, the car you book now. And so you've got that rate, knowing that locks in that, but that close in, almost always you get the lower rate. And you just cancel the reservation you have after you've booked your new rate.
Well, thank you. That's very helpful. It is like having your cake and eating it, too.
And there's nothing else really like that in travel. Occasionally hotels will work like that, where you book a hotel room, even if they're very expensive for a trip far off in the future. And then most hotels allow you to cancel somewhere between 24 and 72 hours out free of any penalty.
Okay.
So you shop the hotel again at the same time you're reshopping the car rental.
Oh, that's great news because we're going to need a hotel for almost a week.
Ideal. So how many people are going to be using that hotel?
Actually, there's going to be ourselves and two sons with their families, so there'll be 3 different rooms.
All right, so I have an alternative you might consider.
Okay.
Have you ever heard me discuss Airbnb?
Yes, sir. I listen to you every day.
All right, so if you check out Airbnb, you might be able to rent a home for all of you to be under one roof.
Oh, that'd be swell.
Or if that would be too many grandkids 24 hours a day, you could stay in a hotel and rent a home for the kids and the grandkids.
Well, we might let Grandpa stay in the hotel.
Perfect. One other thing, going back to the car rental, because I forgot to mention, you know about all the pseudo insurance stuff they try to sell you?
Yes, sir, and thanks to you, I have already checked with our insurance, and we're covered, and so I can decline all that.
All right, you are a planner. You're prepared.
Thanks to you.
We'll have a great, great trip.
You bet. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye. And Glenn is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hello, Glenn. How are you?
I'm doing good, Clark. How are you doing?
Great, thank you.
I had a question about variable life insurance policies. I'd like to kind of know your input on those because I'm kind of looking at some policies like that for my wife and I for retirement, just doing things out of the box.
Did you hear the explosion? Did you hear that in your ears?
Oh, yeah, I've heard that before on your show, and I'd just like to for you to elaborate on it a little bit more.
I'm happy to. All right, for retirement, insurance is a very imperfect way to get to retirement. But the problem with any variable or variable universal life insurance policy is those have blown up on people over and over and over again, with both policies vanishing, that the policy ends up being worthless, with the double benefit, and I'm being funny to say benefit, of it also generating a phantom income tax bill for you at the same time the policy ends up self-destructing. They are incredibly complicated and have been a failure over and over and over again for any policyholder with them. The only success has been for the insurance salesperson selling them because they have massive commissions. They don't have commissions. They have gigantic commissions, which is why they're a product that is sold and not bought, meaning that anyone left to their own devices would normally not buy one. So let me tell you what I think are better solutions. Are you or your wife self-employed?
No, sir, we're not.
Do you work for companies that are big enough that you're offered a 401k?
We do participate in those, and we both max those out as we speak.
Wow. Wow. So, where did the culture come from in your family, or what is it that motivated the two of you to be very few people, I think it's just a couple of percent, saved to the maximum in a 401k? Where'd that come from?
Well, I always was brought up that way, but I went through a divorce a few years ago, and I kind of lost that structure, and I've been able to regain that the past just couple of years. And that same principle applies to my wife, and we were just looking at some things to do other than the 401k.
All right, well, let's talk those through.
Okay.
The absolute next thing you do, unless you're not income eligible, is you each do a Roth IRA.
We make we're not rich, Clark, but they say we make too much money.
All right, so do you know you can still do a Roth even if you make too much, but it requires a little more work on your part?
No, sir, I do not.
All right, there are many times called the backdoor Roth and terms like that. You are each allowed to put, what age are each of you?
We both are. I'm 50, be 51 in September, and she just turned 50.
All right, so that's perfect. You're each eligible to put $6,500 this year into an oddball thing called a non-deductible IRA. Regardless of income, you can put the $6,500 each into the non-deductible IRA. And then, in one of the goofiest things in the tax code, you, regardless of income, are then allowed to convert that into a Roth, and that's why it's called the backdoor Roth.
Okay.
So if you pop $13,000 each year into a Roth at age 50 and 51, you look at that over the years, you're going to end up with an enormous amount of additional money saved, where life insurance can be tax advantaged, can be. A Roth is tax-free. So tax-free beats possibly tax-advantaged every single day.
That's what I wanted to ask you. We were told, and we do have a financial advisor, but they were really pushing us towards these variable life insurance policies.
I'm terrified.
Okay. So you really don't like those, even as you, whatever age you decide you want to retire, if it ever can, where you can pull money from that, you really still don't like those policies.
Because, first of all, with the Roths, you're going to be eligible for the Roth money in 8 years and 9 years, respectively, anyway, to spend from it, tax-free. With the variable universal life products, the commissions are so enormous in the beginning that there's really nothing for you to tap anyway.
Would you recommend a term? I mean, I also have a term life policy that's very inexpensive that I pay on. Would you recommend a term life and doing the backdoor Roth?
100%.
You do.
Because the purpose of life insurance should be to provide for your survivors. When you start using insurance as a way to do, quote-unquote, tax-advantaged investing, that is a slippery slope that is very dangerous with incredibly high costs involved. So you're making me really nervous here. I'd love for you, when we're done talking, to go read up like on Investopedia. Maybe we'll have a good write-up on backdoor Roths. But you can Google that term, and it'll explain it further about how you do it. But that is the perfect ticket, particularly with both of you being past age 50, where your Roth contributions can be higher, or your non-deductible IRA contributions can be higher. Follow me at facebook.com/Clark Howard. Our web address, clark.com. When you got a question for me, go clark.com/ask. Greg is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Greg, you have a most unusual question for me. I gather you are a professional photographer or just a great photographer?
Well, I have been in the professional end of it, and then a lot of it is just, on my own. My dilemma is copywriting my negatives. I've never sold any of them, and they've never been put out anywhere in public, and I have a pretty vast amount of concert photographs from rock concerts in the late 60s and early 70s. and I'm hesitant to do anything with them because I realize they can slip away from you.
Absolutely. Well, the good news is the U.S. Copyright Office offers a procedure where you can copyright unpublished photos.
Okay.
And you only need a single registration for all of your unpublished photos.
All right.
But I think you have to, I'm not 100% sure, I think you might have to have an actual positive instead of all negatives. You might have to have, actual prints of each one.
Okay.
And every one of them has to have some kind of title to it.
All right.
But
would that necessarily be a name or a number or like that?
It's whatever method of coding you would like, as long as it's consistent and clear how you have cataloged each one.
Right.
And if you go to copyright.gov, you can see exactly how the procedure works for unpublished photographs.
Okay.
But the neat thing is you only have to do a single filing to cover all of them instead of each having to have any kind of individual copyright. And there are collectors who might be very interested in a lot of the photos you have from long ago of bands at concerts. Good for you.
Thanks for listening to the Clark Howard Podcast. Download new episodes every Monday through Friday at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com. Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One, right after this. When shopping for car insurance, consider this. Geico has been saving people money on car insurance for over 75 years. So if you're serious about savings, it's simple. Go to geico.com. After 75 years, they know how to save you money.
AP Update, I'm Ross Simpson. Police in Durant, Mississippi think robbery was the motive in the deaths of two Catholic nuns who shared a house together.
Police and church officials say the nuns were found stabbed to death. There were signs of a break-in.
And their car was stolen. AP correspondent Jeff Amy reports the nurse practitioners were beloved by the community.
The doctor who supervised the clinic said that they provided health care to all comers, whether you could pay or not, that they were great at trying to get drug companies to send sample drugs and free drugs for people who otherwise wouldn't afford it.
You can add another name to the National Wall of Honor for fallen officers. A police officer responding to a domestic disturbance in eastern Tennessee was fatally wounded this afternoon when a suspect came out of a house firing. A sheriff's deputy with the fallen officer returned fire, but the suspect wasn't hit. He was, however, taken into custody. AP Update, I'm Ross Simpson.